Hi, this is Shayla, and you're listening to Moms Learning with Moms. We are a website. Our website is wholemotherhood.com. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to be part of a team of moms that learn and grow together. We just learn from each other, and there's a lot of information in each session. We have Brittney with us right now. She is my friend. We've been friends for about 6 years, and so I've seen a little bit of the last of her journey becoming debt-free, and it's been really amazing watching her. So I'm going to just turn the time over to her, and she's going to jump into her story of how she got into debt and how she got out of debt.
So I think debt is probably just unavoidable in the society we live in. I guess I'll start out with the highlight kind of is that we were able to pay off our forever home in 9 years and 3 months. But there's a lot that goes into that process. So I wanted you to know the outcome, and then we'll kind of hit reverse and how I got there. So I started a little bit of like the background for me, I think, of why I was so adamant to get out of debt is when I was 12, my dad was a mechanical engineer. He worked for GM, and GM was not doing good at the time, and he was forced to take an early retirement. And he was in his 50s. He had a very hard time getting a professional job. And when he did, they were contract. And he kept saying over and over to my mom, like, I'm so glad we had our house paid off. Because we had our house paid off, we didn't have to move. We could stay in our home. And yeah, life was a little different, but it wasn't like a complete upset for me. But I just remember just having that security, and I needed that security. So fast forward, we get married. We never really took out any debt other than my husband had to take out one student loan. He always worked at FedEx, got tuition reimbursement, and then his parents helped a little bit, and he just kind of cash flowed that. I got some scholarships. My parents helped with my first year. After my first year, we got married, and he kind of cash flowed it. I got a couple different scholarships, and we just kind of cash flowed college. So we were able to graduate college almost debt free. He took out, I think, $2,300 for one semester and paid it off definitely within a year, maybe within a couple of months. So I think that was number one. It set us up that we didn't have that college loan. So I would always suggest people, if you have to take out loans for school, you only take it out for tuition. You can get around that otherwise. So we got our first house. I was 22. My husband would have been 26. That would have been in like 2002. The loan amount was $135,000. He probably, let's see, it was in the 140s, 5.7875 interest rate. Even though that was a lot of money back then, our house payment was somewhere around $900. Right from the beginning, we always paid $200 a month. So at that time when we got that, I was a full-time student. He worked, and so we automatically every month from that first month of our mortgage, we paid $200. And then when I graduated college. I went and worked 9 months. I hated my job, but I worked 9 months full time. And I took every penny and I put it directly on our home. And I was able to get the PMI paid off. That PMI at the time was a ton of money. It was like over $100. And so we were able to get that paid off. And then all of a sudden we could put 300 and some change on our house.
Now you're talking about this 200 and 300 as extra principal?
Extra principal. Because if you look at the beginning of the loan, I was paying, taxes, everything like that, was probably paying around $950. At the beginning of the loan, maybe $100 was going towards actual principal. Everything else was going. So just me paying that $200, now it's been a long time, but I want to say it cut off about 8 to 10 years, just that $200. Okay. Wow. So now I'm up to 300, and it was like we were chugging along, but I quit my job. We're pregnant, and now we're on one income, but we kept doing that. And we just kept chugging along. And then we did get a car, in that brand new car, Saturn, but no interest. Okay. So now, we did that. I think we paid that off maybe in 4 years. Then my husband had a company car, so we only had to have one car payment. So when we got that paid off, we started putting that money on the car. And then one day, and I think this was really the breaker, is like we were thinking, like, do we move or do we, not? And for whatever reason, I got an amortization calculator. And we started playing around with an amortization calculator. Okay, we're putting $300 a month now. When can we pay off the house? What if we can do 400? What if we can do 500? What if we can really, really stretch? And we did $800 a month. So we almost doubled our payment. Well, at $800 a month, I could pay off my home in, I think it was about 9 to 10 years. So that was the plan. We were chugging along. All of a sudden, we were 1 year away from that, and I'm pregnant with baby number 3. My husband works from home, and we had no space. It's a small house. It was a nice house, a half an acre brick house, but we had 3 bedrooms. We had no room. So we decided we only owed, like, I want to say $15,000 left on our house, something like that. It was really low. And so we had actually been looking for a house for years, but I was kind of I knew what I wanted and what we could afford, and they were not compatible. And so I knew what the market was. This is at the time was 2010. Okay. So there was some deals out there to be had. And I had found this house, and I'd watched and it's the house I'm in now. I'd watched the price just drop. I mean, it started out like 400 in the 400s, and it just kept dropping, and it got down to 200, like at 295. I was like, wow, you can tell it's a really nice neighborhood, really good bones, all brick custom home, but it's got its quirks. And my husband said, oh, we've worked so hard, we're settling. And I said, well, let's just keep looking. So we watched it and watched it. Finally, when it dropped to 268,000, I said, let's go look at it. I am very pregnant. I'm 3 months away from having a baby. We looked at it New Year's Eve, and we said, okay, let's go ahead and put in an offer, because I could see the potential in it. It was $150,000 less than what they had paid for it 5 years before. So, and it did need some work. We knew that. So we went ahead and put an offer in. They had like 20 offers, but I think here's the clincher. I used the same realtor that was listing it, so she was going to get a double commission. And also another thing is that it was like, she thought we could get it for 265. The list price was 268. I said, we'll do 268, but we'll get $3,000, or can we have $3,000 in closing costs? Remember, we had another home. We were not planning on buying another home, so this was a lot. So they said no, but we'll keep your 268, and you can have the house, and you have 2.5 weeks to close, or it's going to go into foreclosure. It was a short sale, by the way. It was a short sale. Bank's willing to take less than what these people owe. So we had 2.5 weeks, and we got to work. So pregnant. We closed we closed in January. We closed at the end of January. This house wasn't really in living condition. We still had our other house, and there was so much going on. We decided to just stay where we were. Jacob would come home after work every day, and he'd paint. We did that, and moved in 2 weeks before the baby was born.
Wow.
It was crazy. Wow. We listed our house. I remember being so pregnant, and I just was I pregnant at the time? Yes, I was pregnant at the time, and I knew that we had to just we moved out, and that weekend we moved out. We listed our house, and maybe we'd listed it like a month before, and I just knew that I had to get this house clean, because we were going to sell it, or at least I would have a showing. And sure enough, we did, and sure enough, those people bought it. And so it all worked out. We never had to make a double mortgage payment, but that was scary. But we had so much equity, I knew I could take less if I needed to sell quickly. But it was still really scary time, especially for somebody that hates debt. I've got two houses. And we were able to do that by the skin of our teeth. So also is all of a sudden I had to get, the banks were really not loaning money. And the reason we were able to do this is since the time my husband was 14 years old, he worked, and his parents put all that money in a mutual fund. And they told him that was for his mission. When he came home from his mission, they didn't touch the money. He had all that money. He'd used that to pay for 1 semester of my college, and we hadn't touched the money, and we kind of been we've been putting money into it. So it wasn't like a ton of money, but it was enough that we could take out 5% to get the down payment for this house. Wow. Because all of our money was really stuck in our other house. So that's how we were able to do that. So we got that house. We closed on our old house. Now we had a good chunk of money. Probably somewhere around 100 and 130,000. It was a good amount.
Hmm.
And we kept out like 35,000 to put in upgrades in this house, and then we put the rest of it on this house. So maybe we probably walked away with somewhere around 100,000, because we put about 70,000 on this house, and then we took about 35,000, I think, to redo this. And then with a newborn baby, with a 2-year-old, we started gutting this house. I had a toilet in my bedroom. We took apart the master bedroom. We knocked out closets. We added up walls. We put the kitchen, we took it down to, we didn't take it down to the studs, but everything, I mean, subfloor, everything. So, and then the plan was my husband was going to do all the work. And we realized how over our head we were with 3 kids. So all of a sudden we started contracting out stuff. And I hate debt, but I've learned that whatever you think renovation is going to cost, add more. So we were like $12,000 short, and we had to take out a 0 interest credit card and put it on there. And I hated that. Oh, I hated that. Never paid any interest. We paid $1,000 a month on that, and we got that down. When we got the money on our own old home, we recast our loan. So it was like an appraisal fee basically, and they just took that money and then they recast it out over a 30-year loan. So our payment dropped. So then with the rates dropped, we did refinance our house once, because it was a pretty significant, but we were still high compared to what the market is. Maybe, I don't know, somewhere maybe around 4-ish, low 4s. I can't exactly remember. It's been a long time. So we did refinance once. What I'll say about refinancing is, for most people, go get an amortization chart, a calculator, and put the numbers in there, because for most people, you're paying about $5,000 in closing costs and stuff. And you can do the exact same thing by being disciplined and just putting all of that money directly on the principal of your house. So really, do you need somebody to force you to be disciplined, or can you do it on yourself? If you can do it yourself, a lot of times there's no point in it. If there's a big drop in the rates, then, do it. The other thing is, you're paying that interest right up front. So if you're not going to be there 5 years, or however long it's going to take to earn that money back, there's no point in doing it. So we did refinance it once. Then, okay, so I'm trying to think of where we're at in the journey. So we refinanced, we finally finished our renovations. We got that credit card paid off. And then I was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years, and I went back to work when the middle one went to kindergarten. The youngest one was in preschool. So I started working from home. When I started out, I made $10 an hour, and I worked hard for that $10 an hour. It was hard. Looking back, I was like, I was insane to do that with my kids. It was a lot of work, but I worked my way up. Whatever money I made, we took and we put it directly on the house. So at first it was like $800 a month, and we just kind of worked from there. Then I came up with this idea that I wanted to get the house paid off by the time I was 40 years old. And on paper, it's not possible. We were a good $50,000 short. But I went ahead and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and then I started reading. I listened to Dave Ramsey every day. My husband was listening to Dave Ramsey every day on his podcast. And I started reading all of these books on finances, on this kind of thing. And I just really focused on it. Some of the books I read were The Millionaire Next Door. These are the books that I know I read more, but I can't remember them all.
Oh, I love that one. That one's one of the best.
Millionaire Next Door was fantastic. Awaken the Giant Within. That's a long one. It was hard. I could read a little bit at a time. I checked that out from the library so many times, but I really found that empowering. Everyday Millionaire. That one was pretty good. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, totally opposite take on Dave Ramsey. It's about debt and leveraging it, but just a different perspective. Think and Grow Rich was a really good one. There was a few things in there I was like, but in general, I did what he said. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I focused on it, and we'll get to that in a minute, but it really did work. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Who Stole My Cheese. I listen to Dave Ramsey podcast daily. I played around with that amortization calculator a lot. And for about a year, I didn't really watch much TV. I didn't read any like frou-frou fiction books. I focused on this and prayed about it and wrote all my goals down. And I felt inspired to go get my real estate license, and something I'd always kind of thought about and wanted to, and did that process. And throughout the whole process, it's a they kind of scare you through it. Number one. Number two is you don't start out making a lot of money, but you have quite a bit of expenses. And I just kept feeling like I don't know if that was the right time, because I don't want to give even though my paycheck wasn't great, it was steady. And I didn't want to give that up right then when I was getting, fairly close to paying off our house. I finished my last exam, came home, sat on the couch. My brain was literally fried. Those are hard exams. And pulled up Facebook, and there was a job ad, like in our town chatter page, looking for a real estate person to sit in a model home 2 days a week. And I thought, well, that's perfect. And I bet I could do that with the job I already have. So now I'm going to have two incomes. So I did that. And my plan was to just do it for a while and just get the house paid off. And I actually really enjoyed it and realized that it could actually be a lucrative career too. So I kind of put my all into that and and I just felt like it was a red carpet, and it literally was a red carpet for me going there. So I went ahead and did that, and started their training program, and it paid well. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say there wasn't any challenges. It's hard working full time with kids, but it worked. And I really felt led to do it. So fast forward, my sales manager, the one that hired me, decided to go back into sales, and she's moving. She's 5 minutes away from my house. And so she asked me to come with her. It's like, my husband's like, what are you doing? You like your job? You're getting paid well. And I just knew it was the right thing to do. So I went ahead and pivoted, and I did that. And when I did that, I only owned like $35,000 left on my house. So that was kind of like, ugh, it's hard. I'm like really getting close, I went ahead and did it. And took a little bit of a pay cut, but it was worth it for some other reasons. And then they changed my schedule. I was so mad. I was like, I'm $35,000 away from paying off my house. I'd quit right now, but I can't, So I went ahead and stuck it out, and it worked. And then COVID hit, 2020 hit. The whole here's a kind of an interesting tidbit about this though. Our big thing about paying off the house was we were going to take the whole family on a cruise. I am usually one of those, we do it, then we can celebrate. For whatever reason, I decided to pull the kids out in January of 2020, and we were going to take that family cruise then. And if that was not like the best timing, because we wouldn't have still gotten the cruise, and the kids would have made sure I knew about it. But it was I think I did it a big reason why it was a huge price difference between the summer and then. So we got our cruise in, we pre-celebrated in January, COVID hit. And I made that goal. I should go find my paper somewhere and see how many years ago I made that goal, 3-4 years ago. I turned 40 at the end of July. And if we didn't pay off our house a month before that goal, I literally hit that goal.
Wow.
A month before. I mean, that's not the power of prayer and a focus. I've learned throughout this process, whatever you focus on, you can achieve. And my focus was on getting out of debt. And it literally like a month beforehand. And that was with a lot of hiccups and stuff too, but it worked. Wow. So we got the house paid off. When I got really serious and was reading all those books, I made a visual. I've sent you the visual. I can send you some of these pictures. I can send some of the pictures so you can put them in the comments of this. Pictures of the house and visuals that I put it in my closet so not everybody could see it. I had started with a big house chart and divided it up, and we'd color in these boxes, but I wanted an even better one. It's hard to pay off, to take all this money, and you can't see it. You don't get anything tangible. I needed something tangible. So I made a Pac-Man chart, and I strung it up in my closet, and my Pac-Man was my big yellow, person. And then the ghosts were like every $20,000. And then the little white dots were every $1,000. So we went from the beginning when we got married, we were paying $200 a month to, by the time I went back to work full time, we were paying $5,000 a month on top of on
Wow.
principal, on top of our mortgage payment.
Wow.
Hold on. Nope. No. It was 5,000 total.
Okay.
So it included our mortgage payment, but by that time, almost all of our mortgage payment was going towards the principal. So we were able to hit mortgage payment plus the extra principal, $5,000 a month. When I started this, did I think that would ever be possible? Never in a million years. From the time we paid it off in 2020. I worked 1 year full time is what it took to get this paid off. And then we got this house in 2011. So, and then I went back to work in 2000, basically we'll say 2015. So from 2015, when I went back to work, it was really like 5 years, and that's where really all the progress happened. But I wouldn't have given up those other 5 years, to be with my kids, now, especially seeing this all. Huge thing I would say about doing this is the visuals. Make yourself a visual. The other thing is that when we got paid, that money didn't sit in our account for probably more than 5 minutes. We got paid and we would instantly take it and get rid of it. And honestly, I think it's easier to pay off something than to save. Saving is hard because I found out like stuff comes up, so we just go get that money. When that money's gone, it's gone. Now we did keep a buffer. We probably had about $10,000 in our emergency fund savings. I'm going to be honest, totally against Dave Ramsey. At the end, I was so excited. I just threw that all. I mean, we had $1,000 in bank, but I wanted to get it done. So actually that probably is how I did it with a month, but I mean, we did it. I don't know, maybe we had 3,000, but I was like, we're doing it. So do not let that money sit in your account. You asked did I ever pay interest? The first credit card I had, I was a freshman at Purdue, and I put my home address when I signed up. And so my first bill went to my home in Anderson, and I didn't come home for a couple of months. So I didn't pay my first credit card bill, and I had a late fee, I don't know, $25, $50, and it made me so mad, literally money down the drain. That is the only money I have personally, other than my house, have ever paid on interest or anything like that. So I've never done it. We've never paid interest on a credit card. So I know, and here's what I would say. Are you disciplined? Can you handle it? We've always been able to do that. So here's how we've done it for at least the last probably 10 years or longer than 10 years. We have a credit card, a Southwest credit card, and I get points. So every year we have at least enough, we put everything on that credit card. So we have at least enough to take at least one vacation. If not, if we wait 2 years, we can take the whole family on a vacation. But we kind of do our money backwards. So when I'm saying I pay it, we would be paying off our expenses that we had already paid for the last 2 weeks. So we pay off that credit card. Then we put exactly what we have left on the house. We didn't leave much of a buffer. There was not a lot of money in our checking account. I can guarantee you there was a lot of times. Now there was some money in the savings, we had a money market that probably had $10,000 in it. We have liquid assets. We had a mutual fund, that mutual fund from when he was 14. The other thing we always did is we always put money in our 401k. So do not stop your 401k to do this. Dave Ramsey says it's okay to stop your 401k if you've got other debt other than your house. That's baby step 2 on his plan. So you can do that, but we always put money in our 401k. So we had money, not that I would ever touch that, but we had money in our 401k. We had a mutual fund. We had a money market. Money market's going to pay you more than a savings account. So really, I didn't feel like there was a lot of, we didn't need a lot of money. But I would say immediately pay off that house, pay it off. Take that money and put it on the principal as soon as you get paid. The visuals, play around with that amortization calculator. It was fun. I was like, what do we need? And I'd kind of just play with those numbers. And it's amazing that when you set your goal up here, how you can achieve it. I started out making $10 an hour. Did I ever think we'd be able to get, to that? And I should say, my husband's got a good job, but he doesn't, he wasn't raking in the money. It was just, we live well below our means. We just live a simple lifestyle. Going back to the house, when we bought this house, paid $268,000 for the house. We put about $60,000 into it. with the market is right now, I mean, we could easily probably get 570. So, I mean, it's a money, a house is a good thing to put your money into.
So we've talked a little bit in previous conversations with you about just the role that generosity, offerings, tithings, like
Yeah,
just being generous. I know that you really feel strongly about being generous still, and paying those tithes and offerings. And what role did that play with you?
There's so many things that worked into hitting this goal that I did forget about this, but my brother was the one that told me, and I've actually had a few people that told me this. They say, if you double your fast offering, your income will double within a year. And I thought, why not try this out? I mean, why not? So we did, and we kind of do and I don't know if I think this is okay to share, but we kind of do our fast offering a little different. Like we paid a percentage of our income. So we went ahead and doubled it. It's a significant amount for us. It's way more money than what I spend on eating out. I don't come anywhere close to eating out. I wouldn't say it's not our grocery budget. It's not our grocery budget, but I definitely can say we don't spend as much on our fast. Now, but anyways, we doubled that, and within a year, our income nearly doubled. That was when I went back to work, but we paid it first before that money came. But yeah, within a year, our income nearly doubled. We were just right there. I considered not just the fast offering, but I considered that what we were paying on top of the tithing. I think, and I should double check with my husband because he's the one that does all this, but I think we were paying like basically 10% of our tithing. So like I think we're paying like basically 11%, tithing and everything. So 10% tithing and 1%. And we kind of diversified that, and we did like the humanitarian aid fund, the mission fund. We kind of like combined all that. So, but yes, it did. It truly did work. So it was amazing to see that.
One other thing I was going to ask is just with, I know you've mentioned the Dave Ramsey stuff, and you've mentioned how, I mean, you set aside money in different areas. Is there a specific budget you worked with?
I don't really have like a category, like I don't have it all written down. I would just put it on the credit card. I know about how much I spend. I mean, I know how much I spend at Aldi every 2 weeks. I know how much I spend at Costco once a month. That's the other thing. Stay out of the grocery store. Stay out of the stores. I was amazed when I started meal planning, and I only go to Aldi once every 2 weeks, and I hit Costco once a month, how much I started saving on the groceries. And you know what the odd thing is that the kids didn't even really notice. Like nobody noticed, but I was saving I mean, I don't know about half, but maybe close to it. So stay out of that grocery store. But it was like, we're not really big spenders. I mean, we're just not big spenders. So I knew what our credit card usually was, like always, like it's this amount per month. And it didn't fluctuate a lot, but I will say times were different back then. This inflation's kind of changed everything. Right. And the piece it gives me, because I've got that all done. Oh, one thing I did that I found super helpful was I kind of did a reverse budget, I guess. I would go through and I would track, and I did it old school. There's a lot of apps, but I felt like it was kind of therapeutic to write it all down on paper. So I'd have my columns. So at the end of February, I would go do February, and here's my gas, here's my groceries, here's my entertainment, here's my shopping, here's everything. So I would write down all of the different, I had a notebook, and I'd write down all the different categories, and then our total spending, and I'd circle it, and I did it kind of, I guess, in reverse, basically. So I had a really good idea of what I was spending, but I always really struggled with, I have $400 for groceries or whatever, and I can't go over because I'm going to go over, So I kind of did it in reverse. I really think that only can work for somebody if you're really disciplined. If you pay interest on a credit card, that's not the right way for you to do it. It just, can you handle that kind of freedom? For me, it made my life a lot easier. So I did that. But yeah, I kind of did it in reverse.
So I think this is a huge question for people looking forward to that aftermath of, now I've paid off my house. Like, what do you do with all of that money, or is there a specific goal now that you have?
So it's been nearly 2 years. I will say I find it, and you got to think about the last 2 years, like life has changed, money's changed, you know. I find it a lot harder to save than I did to pay off the house because, like I said, that money was gone. I couldn't touch it. There was no going back. But with the savings, I put the money in saving. Well, then I want the, you know, and so it's like, so here's some things that I've accomplished. In the last 2 years, we have taken a ton of vacations. We have taken a lot of vacations, like probably at least 4 to 5 weeks a year. And I'm a huge, like, I'm just frugal. That's just me by nature. So they aren't like super expensive vacations, but it was like we couldn't have done this if we had a house payment, you know. So we've taken a lot of vacations. Um, I paid cash for a van. We were able to buy my daughter a car and paid cash for it. We have enough money in the bank to buy my husband a car. So a lot of things got put off doing all that. So we need to kind of replenish. So you know, there's money in the bank for my husband a car. We've paid a ton of taxes. And here's the other thing. I thought my property taxes would go up when I paid off the house, and it hasn't. I don't know if like they just haven't figured that out, but you're going to pay taxes whether you're going to pay that money, whether you're paying it in interest to the bank or you're paying it to the government because I don't have the tax write-off. You're going to pay that money anyways. It is just what it is, you know. We bought a hot tub. That's something that I've wanted for my whole life. So we got a hot tub. My husband got new golf clubs that were super expensive. We were able to compromise that. I wanted the house painted, the interior of the house painted. It had been 10 years. He did not. I was ready to pay somebody. He was not. So I said, you know what? How about I pay you? So Jacob, you paint the house. What I would have spent on hiring a painter, that's your golf clubs. I tell you what, that house got painted so fast. I mean, it was like 10 o'clock on a Saturday night and he's in there painting. So he painted the whole, I got to redecorate the inside of the house. So I got paint everything. I got some new furniture. I got new accessories, you know, new light fixtures, that kind of stuff. It'd been 10 years. So I got to do that. So he got golf clubs. He got a golf simulator. So random, but really what he wanted. Like I said, a ton of vacations. I'm trying to think of, yeah, just, I'm going to be honest, it's a lot harder than what I thought it would be to save. And I honestly thought we'd have a lot more money, but I do think just the timing of it, you know, I don't have to, the peace of mind was still worth it.
And that's, I guess, what I was going to ask next is that, can you tell that it's just like a load off your mind?
Especially when everything was happening and I was so close. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of a worrier and security. And I thought if my husband and I both lost our jobs, which neither one of us did, like we could still be okay, you know?
Right.
We'd still be okay. So that was a huge one, just the peace of mind. Some things I wouldn't sacrifice to do this. I wouldn't sacrifice vacation. So we were very frugal. We didn't eat out a lot and stuff like that. We didn't buy a lot. I garage sell, like I don't spend a lot of money. But throughout the process, we still took our family vacations. At least one, if not two, like good vacations, like to the beach, you know, a year. So I never gave up vacations because my kids need those. This was for me, but my kids needed those. We'll come back to this. And then my husband wouldn't sacrifice his golf. So we don't like spend a lot of money, you know, on other things like going out to eat and that kind of stuff. But he went golfing and I got my vacation. So everybody has their things.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up. Brittney, thank you so much. That was a lot of information. And I just think it's really inspiring seeing people pay off the house, and it's exciting to me to watch. So anyway, go ahead and subscribe if you, again, want to be part of this learning environment with moms and having fun with that. All right. Just keep learning.